Game 1 of the finals is in the books. America runs on Dunkin'. Boston Day, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I had to bring it out. I'm drinking Dunkin' today in honor of the Celtics. The Lakers are hiring Dan Hurley. Oh, yeah, it's Lakers talk when the Celtics win a finals game. Let's get into foul trouble.
Hey, if ESPN is only going to talk about the Lakers coaching search for the entire halftime show, we deserve a little bit of Lakers talk as well. But
yeah, so do we want to talk about the NBA Finals or should we? No.
Yeah, I think let's just get it. Let's do a full mock draft right now.
Okay, number 1, Bronny James.
Yeah, got to be Bronny James. Like, you could get LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron to Atlanta.
Who's number 2?
Can you just take the rights to Bryce?
Yeah. In this one, yeah.
And I think potentially, what's his daughter's name? Zuri?
Zuri, yeah.
Yeah, she could be a good prospect for number 3. I like her going to. Who has the 3rd pick? I don't know. The finals, they started yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that was a beatdown.
Yeah, so the Celtics won 107-89, and I know that's almost 20 points right there, but for large swaths of the game, it didn't even seem that close.
Yeah, this was a weird game. I mean, I don't even know where to begin because I had so many different observations. I think just...
Let's start with the Celtics, then we'll go to the Mavs.
Celtics offense, defense. There's so many facets to Celtics.
I mean, who was the best player on the Celtics, in your opinion, yesterday?
You see, even that's a tough question. I mean, I think Jaylen Porzingis.
I thought Jaylen Brown.
Kristaps Brown. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's game 1. I don't know if I want to rank the Celtics, but I thought Boston's ability to almost just stay at home on a lot of the Mavs guys play. I thought Luka played pretty well, especially in isolation scoring, but that's the only thing the Mavs had going for them. Yeah. I thought even so Tatum, we talked about he's 5 of 16. He has a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, 6 of 16, 6 turnovers, only 1 personal foul, but plus 19 in his 42 minutes.
But at the same time, Tatum, it kind of felt like anytime Tatum had the ball, he could just get around whoever was guarding him, and that led to a lot of driving kick opportunities. Granted, he had a lot of turnovers, but also I thought Tatum came down with a ton of big rebounds. It just kind of felt like almost at any time the Celtics, when either of the Jays had the ball, they could just get to the cup.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Boston was really successful in kind of identifying the pigeon on any certain possession, and I thought they really forced the action in getting Luka on whoever had the ball, and Luka had a lot of really successful defensive possessions.
It's weird. I feel like we talked a lot about the body type defending thing, and it feels like this is a weird. Now, Jaylen Brown crossed up Luka on the possession where he had that crazy poster. So I'm not saying Luka was locking down anyone, but it did feel like Luka was the most effective perimeter defender a lot of the times on their bigger players just because of his size and his weight.
Yeah, and with that being said, with the success that they had against Luka, I thought that they could have even went to that more in the restricted area yesterday. Do you know what they shot?
The Celtics?
Yeah, so they shot 15 shots at the rim.
Well, it felt like they did such a good job of keeping Lively and Gafford out of the paint. I'm going to say they shot 11 of 15.
They shot 15 of 15.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like they never had a center down there for the season. It felt like, there was that weird, this game, for a blowout, I feel like there was 30 different facets of this game I want to talk about, but it felt like there was a 4-minute stretch where the Celtics completely got in Lively's head. Jaylen Brown drew those 2 shooting fouls, and it I don't know, it discombobulated. I mean, the Mavs were already torn apart by that part, but
yeah, and it was kind of weird. That was also, it was they were in Lively's head, but that was also in the 3rd quarter when the Mavs had their most successful stretch of the game. But I think that was partially because Luka had it going at that point. But on the other side of the coin, that was, I feel like, the one portion of the game where the Celtics became most okay with settling for threes. And of course, I mean, they shot a lot of threes throughout this game. But
I think what's important to note about the threes is a lot of open threes.
Yeah.
Because they're getting the Mavs in rotation, and it's because like the Celtics are doing this targeted isolation game, and I think like the worry with the Celtics offense is so much of it is like pick and switch, attack the other team's bad defender, get Tatum, get Brown, get Porzingis on a mismatch. Like that's so much of their offense, and like for most of this game, it worked. They're getting the Mavs in rotation. And when it got ugly was that stretch at the end of the second and the beginning of the third where it's like, okay, you guys are doing isolation ball, but you're doing isolation ball to shoot and not to get the Mavs in rotation. But it kind of felt like when they were like, hey, guys, remember, we're doing ISO to set the team up, not to set the ISO guy up. That's when we win. And it was kind of like they had that like 6-minute stretch where it got mucky, where we're like, oh, this is why we don't like the Celtics offense, even though statistically it's so good. But once they snapped out of it, I mean, they went right back to just shooting open threes and blowing them out.
Yeah, and when you go up by 29 in the second quarter, you can afford to kind of have that lapse of like a 6-minute stretch when you're really not playing the way that you should. But, I mean, I think Drew Holiday had a really great game. We saw some of the kind of Lou Dort-ness of like how he was able to have defensive possessions against Luka and like wasn't always successful, but Luka had to kind of dribble the air out of the ball in those possessions. And when he was successful, it was late in the shot clock. They were like step back threes, opposed to like getting to the rim, finding open shooters. So I thought like the defensive game plan there from the Celtics was really, really successful.
Yeah, I think, the Celtics, I think just the ability to switch everything, right? Mm-hmm. And just switch, even if it's Luka, because I think the thing with the Celtics is like, you're like, okay, like Luka, like that's thing. I think the Celtics are okay with Luka completely having his way because like, it's not, I feel like in the past, a lot of teams are like, all right, we're going to target Luka on defense to wear him out on offense. But it kind of felt like in this game, like Luka was like, okay, guys, like I have to do I have to score every basket. And that was really draining on him too. And I feel like the Celtics are like, you know what? We'll let Luka cook one-on-one because he's going to get tired if they're doing that every possession. And it felt like they had to because, I don't know, Kyrie was just awful in this game. And it felt like every time it was like, all right, I'm going to try to spell Luka a little bit and get some shots up. It was like brick.
Yeah, well, and taking the toughest shots ever.
And just missing the wide open threes. They got Kyrie like 3 wide open threes in this game. He missed all of them.
Yeah, I looked up, so Luka, throughout the last 15 games of the playoffs, he's been averaging 14.6 potential assists. So passes to a shooter that like can make or miss, but 14.6 times a game. Yesterday, only 7 potential assists, and that was leading the Mavs. So like they just like made every player on the Mavs an ISO player, and the Mavs just don't have that kind of juice,
Yeah, the Mavs had that one possession that I was like, I wonder if this is their counter to the Tatum guarding the center thing, which is when they dumped it down to Gafford in the post, but they didn't get anything out of it. Because Tatum is a little sturdy, strong, and I feel like Gafford also has that kind of upper body weight distribution similar to Tatum, so he's not the type of big man that's really going to punish Tatum. Mm-hmm. They don't have like that low center of gravity, Jokic. Not to say skill-wise Jokic and Embiid, but just that body type. Like even a Karl Towns where it's like, the weight is a little bit lower. It's easier to knock guys around.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I think we can talk a little bit more about Jaylen Brown and his effectiveness. But before we get there, I think like we need to have a longer discussion about what Kristaps Porzingis did in this game.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of like everything we talked about in our preview, but the one thing we didn't talk about in our preview was just this: we're going to give it to him at the elbow because the Mavs are going to put Josh Green on him, and he's just going to keep shooting over Josh Green.
I mean, he's just looking down into the basket over Josh Green, and yeah, that elbow jumper was
unstoppable.
Was lethal.
They it felt like 3 out of 5 possessions. They just in the first quarter they just went, okay, Porzingis elbow ISO, and he's like, do I have to move or can I just stand here and shoot like I'm a turret?
Yeah, and it was kind of the full like New York Kristaps Porzingis experience because in addition to that, he was also hitting like the super deep threes yesterday that just like stretched the floor out in a way that it's like, how do we guard the Celtics team at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Porzingis was just incredible. I mean, that's the thing. I think for the Mavs, it's just so hard because the way Tatum and Brown are able to just, it seems like the Mavs are not well equipped to guard them, especially if Luka is the best guy to guard those guys, just because it's like, if Luka's going to have to take on this, he was always going to have to take on a scoring load, but a scoring load where it's like, okay, you're not even going to get like a lot of assists. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just asking a lot of him, and it just felt like because like they're like, you know, especially because if, you know, Tatum's guarding Lively or Tatum's guarding Gafford, you know, missed shot, the Celtics are coming down. If the Mavs aren't, you know, fixing their rotations in the cross match, and all of a sudden the possession starts with Tatum onto Gafford or Lively, the Celtics are like, great, Tatum blew by them every time he wanted to.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's just a thing of like. The reason why the Timberwolves struggled so much against the Mavs is they like rely so much on those paint points to like win games like this. And the Celtics are just like, yeah, we don't want to go.
Yeah, the Celtics are an outside-in team. They open up the paint with their threes instead of an inside-out team.
But at the same time, I feel like if the Mavericks adjust to this game and it's like, okay, like let's close out super hard on all their threes. Let's try to take that shot away from them. I think the Celtics have enough like athleticism and like ability to attack the rim that I don't see that being like a real answer either.
Yeah, I saw. So the Mavs went small a couple times in this game with like Kleber, but man, if Kleber's not going to shoot the three, I don't think he should get any minutes.
Yeah,
like if he's just going to be really hesitant on his threes, just he can't play. And I felt like there was a big deer in the headlights with a lot of the Mavs role players. I thought the most telling possession to me was toward the end of the game because the Celtics didn't double Luka all that much, but there was a possession where Luka has the ball on the left wing, Derek Jones Jr. has the ball on the right wing, and like we're coming off the heels of like Derek Jones Jr. taking. I just butchered that man's name so horribly. I apologize, Derek, but he just took like some horrible layups into like triple team coverage and just was making really bad decisions. And it was the first time I saw Luka be like, man, this guy's wide open, but like high key, I should just shoot over the double team.
Yeah. Well,
and I think that when you're getting Luka to the point where he's completely lost trust in his teammates, because this is a guy who's like, you know, the best, in my opinion, the best perimeter passer vision, you know, passing ability in the NBA. And when he's just like, I can't even trust this dude in an open situation, it breaks the Mavs offense.
Yeah. I mean, we don't see Luka attempting 12 threes a game. That's like generally not his deal. And he had to do that to get the Mavericks into the competitive.
Do you remember that one possession where Luka got into the paint and he kind of like he got himself open on like a nifty fadeaway and it was like, oh, open fadeaway, but then he dumped it to Gafford.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like
see that.
I kind of felt like part of me was like, I think Luka's doing this to be like, come on guys, let's fucking go. Like Gafford, get a dunk. Like let's go. You know what I mean?
Something going.
Yeah, it kind of felt like he knew he could have scored, but he was like, I need to get these guys involved or we're fucked.
And right there, it was like that highlighted the high IQ bigs that the Celtics have. Because I think in either of the last really 3 series, that's a lob. But like with Porzingis' size, with Al Horford is always in the right position. Like, I think that lob game just was not there at all.
Yeah, I think, I mean, wow, what a great game for the Celtics. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to game 2. I think the Mavericks, I think if you're a Mavs, you know, player, fan, I think there's a couple things you can look forward to, be like, we can definitely improve in these areas. I think, one, the Mavs were not ready for the level of physicality that was allowed.
Yeah, it was kind of.
It felt more like Nuggets Timberwolves than Mavs Timberwolves.
Yeah, that's a great way to say
it. And I think for the Mavericks, if they're going to allow that level of physicality, I personally think when the refs allow more and more physicality, that benefits the team, the lesser team, which I think overall is the Mavericks. Mm-hmm. Because the more physicality you introduce to basketball, the less the skill gap becomes a big thing. So I think if they're going to allow, you know, these crazy physical plays. The Mavericks, if they can match that, I think that'll help slow down the Celtics offense a lot. I think for the Mavs too, I don't imagine Kyrie will be that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, especially just missing the open shots. Like, I just don't think Kyrie's going to go 0 of 3 on open threes again.
Not to belabor the point, it seemed like Kyrie hit his 5 hardest shots and missed
his 11
everything
easiest.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also for the Mavs too, if you are going to match the physicality, I think that'll help them with their more team identity, which is a more like inside out team. Because it felt like they couldn't get anything inside if it wasn't Luka this whole game. And I think also if you're the Mavs, the other thing you can look forward to is I felt like the Celtics, even though a lot of the threes were open, a lot of them were open. They also hit a ton of contested ones.
They did. They
hit a lot of tough threes.
I feel like all 3 of Tatum's threes were like super high difficulty threes.
Yeah. And I think if you're a Celtics fan, the thing you're really like, okay, I feel really confident in is I don't know if they have an answer for the Jays. Just getting to the cup. And if Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to, especially Tatum, I thought Tatum was, I think he was pretty rough, as we both said, but I like that Tatum isn't watching Porzingis and Brown going off and being like, oh my God, I have to get my shots up too. And I think if Tatum is just going to play unselfishly, like, I don't know. The Celtics, I feel like, are going to consistently be able to get the Mavs in rotation with that.
Yeah, it was a very savvy performance by Jayson Tatum. It wasn't like
good,
but it was
what you want to see.
Yeah, from your superstar. If your superstar doesn't have it going, I think that's the ideal game. He's hitting the board super hard.
He's defending.
I mean, the turnovers is I would hope if you're a Celtics fan that you're not going to get another 6 turnover game from Jayson Tatum. That was probably my favorite thing that I saw from the Mavs defense is they forced a lot of like really erratic cross court passes from the Celtics in a way that I feel like they probably could have gotten a few more turnovers if just the ball bounced a different way, which would make like a huge difference in spots in this game.
Speaking of erratic passes, that one Kyrie pass where he just threw it into the backcourt.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
That was wild. I mean, is there anything else from the game, or do we want to do the little Tatum legacy discussion for 2 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some Celtics legacy. Yeah, let's have that conversation.
Okay, so we talked about this off the pod, but okay, this series is already preemptively annoying me because if the Celtics win and Tatum just plays this style of game, I don't want to hear about the Tatum player ranking talk because I feel like none of us, like, I don't know. How do you rank Jayson Tatum? If he's able to play like this and they can win by 20, like, I'm not saying he's not top 8 or he's not top 5 or 6, but like, I don't know how you evaluate Jayson Tatum when we've never seen him in any other team context other than just stacked rosters.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same problem with Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, like for both of these guys, it's just you can't like. I don't think I've ever seen some of these other superstars on a team where they could play the way Jayson Tatum played this game and they'd win by 20. There's just no other superstar in a situation like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very reminiscent. And I'm not saying Tatum is on the level of this guy, but it's very reminiscent of like the KD on the Warriors thing of like, yeah, this guy won 2 finals MVPs, but like, look at the players he's playing next to. Like, should we be holding that in the same esteem as like, even like that Steph Curry's finals MVP?
Yeah, I think this is my thing is just like with Tatum and Brown to a lesser extent, it's like I feel like people are like, well, if they win, then he has to be top, whatever. And it's like, aren't you just happy for the Celtics team?
Yeah.
Like it is a team sport.
It's so Celtic. From a historical standpoint, it's so Celtics. Because I think like the perfect comp really for this is like Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale is like an all-time player that I think often gets forgotten in like larger like all-time discussions because it's like you look at that 80s Celtics team and it's like you've got Bird, you've got Dennis Johnson, you've got Robert Parrish, and then you've got McHale, and it's like these teams are just so stacked. They're just like true teams in a way that it's like you can't single them out and talk about them in a way that I mean, even Scottie Pippen kind of has the same, like, how do you
Yeah, I think
talk
this is
about
where I
this.
stand with Tatum as it goes to regarding him, like ranking him within the top 10 or right outside the top 10 is like, I feel like a lot of Celtics fans over the last like 2 weeks have been like, see, that's the thing with Tatum. He just molds his game to what's happening. If they need boards, he gets boards and assists. But what separates the top 5, the top 6, the top 7, like from Tatum is like the other guys, they don't have the luxury to just mold their game. They always have to mold their game and be good.
Yeah.
And until Tatum is in that environment where I can see he can actually do that, because, I mean, he's in the perfect environment to not shoot 5 of 16. So if he does shoot 5 of 16, what does that say?
Yeah, it's like if the Mavericks need Luka to hit the boards, he's got to hit the boards, get 15 rebounds, and still supply his 30 points.
On good shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. And I hate to dunk on Tatum, but I think it's annoying because everyone's trying to force him into this like to me, the fact that people are saying he's better than Embiid is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, it's
just
crazy to me.
Absolutely bonkers to me. Like when Embiid plays the way Tatum played yesterday, they always lose.
Yeah. But like the saving grace for Celtics fans is like
it's a team sport.
It's a team sport, and this run that we're seeing from the Celtics is an all-time run. And honestly, if they're able to win game 2, like it pretty much closes the doors in my mind for like the Mavericks really being able to get back in this series, because now, so the Celtics have played 16 games in the playoffs and they have 14 wins. That, or no, they've played 15 games, they have 13 wins. Of the teams that have done that, 13 teams have done that, all but 2 have won the championship. We're looking at the Suns from 2021, who had an amazing run, the Lakers from 2020, the Warriors from 2017, the Spurs from 2013, who didn't win the championship, but the 01 Lakers, the 99 Spurs, the 97 Bulls, the 96 Bulls, the 93 Bulls, the 91 Bulls. Like, these are the best teams of all time, and I get, you can say whatever you want about the Celtics road here, but like, we see that every couple of years.
Yeah.
A team have like a easy road, but they don't win. They don't win the games to put themselves in these groups. And if
no one remembers the road 10 years from now.
Exactly. And if they win one more game, then they'll have won 14 of 16 playoff games. Every single team that has ever done that has won the championship. Like that's the esteem that this Celtics team is kind of putting itself in. So I feel like if you're a Mavs fan and hearing this, it's like, this is what you're dealing with. And if you put yourself even in a situation where you can win against this Celtics team, like, that's how good Luka is. That's how like how much better this Mavericks team has become over the course of 1 year. So, I mean, like, I hope we get a really close series, but that's kind of what we saw yesterday is pretty much what I expected.
Yeah, because I mean, yesterday, like we're talking about, like Kyrie could probably shoot better. The Celtics could probably cool off, but I don't think that's going to gap 19 points.
Yeah. Well, and it's like this Celtics team, they shot 38% from 3, but like that's pretty much who they are. Like, I just didn't see much. Like, the Mavericks can play a lot better, but like, I don't want to act like the Celtics can't play better too. Because I think they can.
I don't know how much better they could play, though, just because it felt like they could go without the stretch where they kind of mucked up their offense, but that's kind of who they are every game. They always have that little stretch before they snap back into it. But I don't know. I think the Celtics could play, I don't know how to put a percentage on it, like 15% worse and probably still win in 5 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the huge thing that we were talking about in the preview was the rebounding battle, and like
oh my god, the beginning of the game, it felt like the Celtics got every rebound in the first 5 minutes of the game.
They only ended up winning the rebounding battle by 4 rebounds,
but it did not feel like that.
It didn't feel like that at all. And if it's more lopsided than that, I mean, like, the game is a turnoff game, you know, by the third.
So what did you think of the Mavs going small if they're not going to be able to protect the rim with Lively and Gafford? Because I know we touched on it, and we're both Kleber being a hesitant shooter is just awful. I feel like the Mavs have to just double down on the centers and just I don't know. I feel like they kind of have to live with it because they need to win the boards.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because if you got Kleba out there, then it's like, at least with Lively and Gafford, they're athletic enough to stay with the Celtics perimeter stars for a couple seconds.
Kind of. I felt like Tatum, every time he saw Lively, Jayson Tatum was like, should I go left or should I go right this time? I'll just go whatever way I want to go.
I mean, that stretch, that 5 foul stretch from Lively was
Jaylen Brown, I think one thing Jaylen Brown does really, really well is like he's just reckless. Mm-hmm. But it puts the refs in a tough spot.
Well, I mean,
and it puts Lively in a tough spot.
Jaylen Brown saved kind of the Celtics in that run there because it was like, I think they were up by 21 at the start of the third, and then they got it all the way down to 8. And it was because the Celtics are just jacking threes. And then the thing that stopped that run was, do you remember when Jaylen Brown, like what you said, just like ran straight into Lively and it like was barely even a layup attempt, but he got to the line. And then that pretty much quelled the run. Then from that point, Mavericks start jacking up threes. Kristaps Porzingis gets back to his like elbow game, and then it just like the lead swelled back to 20 points.
Yeah, no, I think all right. The other thing that's tough for the Mavs we didn't touch on this is like I know the Celtics started to pull away while Luka was still on the court in the first quarter, but I did look it up. So Luka had the best plus minus of -10 in their starting lineup, which not great. Obviously, the Celtics were. I'm not saying when Luka's out there, the Mavericks.
That's pretty good for what
the game was. Yeah. But I think that's the real problem for the Mavericks is like they have no shot when Luka's not out there. Like without Luka out there, they're cooked.
Yeah,
and Luka can't play 48 if he's going to have to take on that big of a burden.
At least, and I was gonna point this out for Kristaps as well, but like at least Luka. I think Kid pulled them at the perfect time. Like Luka only played 38 minutes, which is a lot. But it's not, 48 minutes, which I think to your point, he might have to do. But I wanted to highlight Porzingis, first game back, only had to play 21 minutes. Like that is another huge
21 minutes, but 42 minutes of impact.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
21 minutes plus 13. Like he was.
He was awesome.
20 points in 21 minutes. Crazy. He was so good.
He was so good. He was so fucking good.
What a weird career arc
for
Kristaps Porzingis has had so far in his career. Because, I mean, he does have the benefit of the super team bump that we've been talking about all episode. But
he's a true ceiling raiser.
God, he's
a true ceiling raiser for a team. Yeah.
And he's just like, he passes the playground test so easily. Like if you don't know anything about the NBA and you're just watching yesterday's game and you're like, okay, like who are you interested in picking for your team in the next run? Like you're going to point at Kristaps Porzingis and say like, I want that guy on my team.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess a few other quick observations. I thought Drew held up. I know Drew's obviously an amazing, really stout, strong defender. I thought Luka did kind of not have his way, but I thought Drew played really, really good defense. Weird thing, because just the Timberwolves did it so much to Jamal Murray, and I felt like I saw it happen to them too. I can't believe how many backcourt steals we've seen in the playoffs. Like Jaylen Brown poked it away from Luka and got that one dunk. That was huge for the Celtics.
Well, I liked how the Celtics pretty much throughout the entire game were picking up
Luka full court. Yeah.
That's something that I don't get why the Timberwolves didn't do. I guess they don't really have the same
I think it was just easier against the Nuggets because Murray's like literally the only ball handler. Mm-hmm. Everyone else doesn't really dribble. But like the poke steals in the backcourt.
Yeah. I mean, it gets in your head.
It does. Yeah. I thought Jaylen Brown, was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And the guard weak side rim protection that the Celtics had yesterday was also huge. Like Jaylen Brown had 2 huge blocks right at the rim. Derek White is just one of the best guard rim protectors in honestly like recent NBA history.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question because I know we did our Tatum legacy talk and I think it was a little overly negative, but I'm actually curious about this. If Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP after winning Eastern Conference Finals MVP, what does that does that mean anything? Does that like?
I mean,
a lot of the times in these big games, it does feel like he's their best player. I don't know what that. I'm not saying this to be a Tatum hater. I'm just genuinely curious. Like this is more of like a Jaylen. Is Jaylen Brown just somewhat underappreciated?
I mean, if he has a Finals MVP under his belt, like I don't know, like how much people want to talk about like Jaylen Brown being in the Hall of Fame, but I feel like that kind of pushes him very close to being a lock.
Yeah,
in,
well, I
in
guess
my mind.
I guess for me, is it like because I feel like right now, if you just ask someone like, all right, without really thinking about it, where do you have Tatum and Brown? I think most people probably like, all right, Tatum's probably somewhere between like 7 and 10, and Brown's somewhere between like I don't know 18 and 22. But would it? I think it would almost maybe make me think that maybe Tatum's more toward like 12, but Brown's also more toward 12.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. I would have to like lay.
Yeah,
it out.
I'm just like
It's been
really
so long
casually,
since
really casually thinking about it. Yeah.
But I mean, he's a playoff player in a way that like a lot of guards struggle to be, you know, and he's like a true size guard, but he can guard on the wing. Like he can just do everything.
Yeah. He had some big blocks too.
And I mean, he was kind of their primary scorer a lot of the time. I love when he gets downhill. Like,
Just
he's so
attacking the rim like so strong.
He's just a load to deal with. You know?
He's good. Jaylen Brown's really fucking good. I know as a Heat fan, we all love to clown on him a lot for last year, but he's fucking good, man. He's really good.
So I don't know. I feel like we've kind of. What are you expecting to see out of game 2?
I'm expecting the Mavs to really up the physicality. I'm expecting the Mavs to up the physicality. I'm expecting some sort of wrinkle in their pick and roll game. I don't know what it's going to be to try to help Luka get other people involved, just in some way. I think the one thing we haven't seen from the Mavs all playoffs that I think is like really maybe an interesting concept, and it's tough with the Celtics, but Derek White, incredible defender, probably the best guy for Luka to pick on. I want to see them, and I know Drew was on Kyrie for a lot of the game, but I kind of want to see the Mavs do a Kyrie-Luka pick and roll. Pick and switch.
Yes. Oh my God.
Just
I was
more
thinking about that
more
the
two-man
whole game
actions where it's
yesterday.
just their two best players are involved in the two-man action, because what makes I think both Kyrie and Luka unique is, especially Kyrie, is even though he's not a big man, I think getting him the ball going downhill only leads to good things because Kyrie's improved as a passer so much. So I think I'd like to see the Mavs do a two-man game involving those two more.
Yeah. Put the ball in Kyrie's hand. Get Luka screening. I think that makes a lot of sense right there. And then it just makes the Celtics have to scramble in a way that we didn't really see them have to do.
Yeah, it's just tough though because they're going to switch it no matter what.
They are going to switch it, and they can switch it.
They're so switchable.
And it's like, how many threes do you want PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr. shooting?
Yeah, I guess I think if you're the Mavs, because they've won games these playoffs where they haven't made as many threes as the other team, which is unique. But if they're not going to get the lob game going, they might have to try to match the Celtics 3-point attempts a little bit better.
Yeah, also getting Daniel Gafford going, like he really disappeared for large portions of the game. And like in a way that I feel like we really haven't seen all playoffs.
Yeah, I think one thing that'll help the Mavs too, because I think Lively's been really adaptable, is I think he's going to be a little bit stronger because it felt like he was complete. I felt like the Celtics were
Moment was too big for
him. It was
him.
way too big for him in that third quarter. Yeah. Max, anything from you? What did you think about the game?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I watched the first half and
Called
I was
it a
kinda
day.
As I feel most of America probably did.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's just. I have a genuine question for you guys, and I say this as, of course, a diehard Timberwolves fan. Do you think the Timberwolves would be a better matchup against the Celtics, genuinely? Or do you think the Mavs, the way that they're playing right now, are actually a better opponent, like a stronger opponent?
I think the Timberwolves match up better with the Celtics. Yeah, I do think that.
Like they would be more like closer, tighter games.
Well, we've only seen one game.
I guess that's
We've only seen one game, but I think the difference with the Mavs and the Timberwolves is like you guys obviously have Jaden McDaniels. I think is probably better equipped to guard Jaylen Brown than anybody on the Mavericks.
Yeah, he's perfect. I mean, we saw what he did against like Book and Jaylen Brown. Same size, kind of like same shot diet.
Yeah, I think also I think the one thing for the Timberwolves, though, now that I've seen the way the Mavs did it, is when I was studying, it's just the Timberwolves, like, why are they playing Kyle Anderson when they have the Reed Towns? Like, if they just, I don't know. That's the one thing that looking back, the T-Wolves, where I feel like they really fucked up. Because the Celtics, like, going 5 wide, like, why did the Timberwolves just never go 5 wide? Why did they just never do that?
I do feel like the Timberwolves would have struggled offensively kind of in a similar way that we're seeing the Mavs struggling offensively.
You guys don't have Luka. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the Timberwolves would have struggled a lot to get the ball into the half court in the same way that we saw in spots Luka and Kyrie struggle, but like Luka's just so much bigger. It's easier for him to thwart that.
I do think the T-Wolves really could have mucked up the Celtics offense just because, like the Celtics, the T-Wolves can switch a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think back to that like early regular season game where the Timberwolves beat the Celtics.
The one thing I don't like for the T-Wolves, though, and I'm not saying this to be a hater, but
Gobert.
No, not even Gobert. Towns.
Yeah.
Just after seeing like the lights get brighter, like I don't know, man. Can you trust Towns
I think
in a
that
big
was
spot
part
like
of
that?
the Kyle minutes. It was like Carl is just so inconsistent right now. Like we need to try something else. And a
lot of that was guarding Luka. They had no one to guard Luka.
That too. And Kyle does have long arms.
The thing I like about a Timberwolves Celtics matchup is I do think the Timberwolves starting 5 as a whole, you've got a lot better 3-point shooting there than what the Mavericks have. So like maybe like you can gain in the math problem there, but
I feel like these playoffs have really just been a lesson in matchups. Because I was thinking yesterday, like, you know, after I was at Target and I'm like thinking about the game, I'm like, man, it's so weird that the Celtics just can't beat the Nuggets.
Yeah.
But the Mavericks can destroy the Timberwolves, who can beat the Nuggets. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's because the Nuggets can just post up Jokic onto Porzingis and get a bucket every time. But the Mavs can't do that.
No, they cannot. Yeah, the non-shooters just in this series hurt the Mavericks in a way that it just didn't in the Timberwolves series.
Yep. Okay, should we talk about the greatest NBA franchise ever?
Yes, the twists and turns of the legendary 2024 Los Angeles Lakers coaching
baby.
search. So what was it? On Monday, we get a report from Shams Charania essentially saying that the Lakers are closing in on hiring JJ Redick to be their head coach.
And then we get the Anthony Davis prefers James Borrego to JJ Redick.
And then yesterday morning at 4 a.m., we get a huge Woj bomb saying that now the Lakers are closing in on trying to hire their top target all along,
Dan Hurley.
Dan Hurley, coach of UConn, back-to-back national championship winners. And we don't have closure on this subject. It seems like
I don't know if I didn't do a lot of digging. I saw a Dan Hurley Twitter that was not verified, but I feel like, you know, college basketball coach isn't going to bother to pay for Twitter premium, saying that he's taking the job. And it had a lot of likes, so I don't know if it's real or not, but I trusted it. I trusted it.
I don't know.
I'm waiting for Adrian Wojnarowski to confirm, but it like pulls into question this like really kind of interesting coaching like conundrum of like, would you rather have the great head coach jumping from college to the NBA or the former player jumping from the booth into a head coaching position after having no previous head coaching experience?
Okay.
And I can
Well,
give
hold
you
on.
a few examples of both. If you
So
want.
JJ Redick, short white guy, great shooter. You know who that reminds me of?
Jason Kidd.
Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr.
Okay, where are we going with this?
Okay,
He's
so
just black-haired Steve Kerr.
the last couple college to NBA head coaches, John Beilein, who coached for the Cavs after coaching at Michigan.
Rough.
He only survived for 68 games and was 13 games under 500. Billy Donovan, who has had a lot of success, but it helps to have prime KD. Fred Hoiberg survived in Chicago for a couple years. Not great.
Longer than any Bulls fan liked it.
Brad Stevens, probably
W.
the best example in recent NBA history. And then two like older examples, but I think bear mentioning. Rick Pitino did this 2 times. Not great in his New York stint or Boston.
Very bad in Boston.
And then John Calipari survived for 3 seasons in New Jersey, made the playoffs once, but got swept. So that's the college to NBA pipeline. We've got kind of one example of like, yes, I would sign up for that Brad Stevens run. Now, do you want to talk about that? Or should I give you the no experience to NBA head coach?
Give me the no experience.
Okay. Last one, Steve Nash. Steve Nash, very mixed bag, very tough,
Horrible coach.
Circumstances.
Yeah.
But yeah, wasn't a great coach. Derek Fisher, coached
Horrible
the Knicks
coach.
for 2 years. Steve Kerr, obviously,
Great
that
coach.
worked out really, really well.
Kind of mid.
Jason Kidd, really rough in the first 2
Really rough start.
stops, but obviously he's got his team in the finals. Mark Jackson,
I'm going to say rough.
yeah, pretty rough. Vinny Del Negro in that's the pre-Tom Thibodeau Chicago Bulls right there. Kevin McHale in 2005 for
Rough.
Minnesota, only survived 1 season. Isaiah Thomas in Indiana,
Rough.
did not work out well. Doc Rivers in Orlando, that went well.
Yeah.
Larry Bird in Indiana, that went well. ML Carr in Boston, that did not go well. Magic Johnson for the Lakers, that did not go well.
That was so bad between his coaching and his presidency. That's what demoted Magic from greatest Laker. That's so bad.
Yeah, the coaching,
The coaching
run
and
did
GMing
not
was
go.
so bad. It took his title away.
So
What
those
is
are
it that,
kind of the
like-
2 avenues.
What does it say that to be a good coach, it seems like you have to have been kind of an average player? Like Steve Kerr,
Billy Donovan.
I think the thing is an average player has a way better understanding of the whole roster. And I think what's really hard for a Magic Johnson is he's going to look at his point guard and be like, oh, you don't see that you can pass it between this guy's legs right here? Are you blind?
Right.
And I think an average player is okay, let's be reasonable.
Sure.
I think it's just hard for really high level players to relate and understand why their players don't see the game the way they do. And I think that's why Kidd is working out so well with Luka and Kyrie, is because he can actually talk to Luka and be like, don't you see that? And Luka's like, yes, I do see it.
Yeah, he has a fellow genius level IQ player.
And I think for someone like Luka, he probably needs a coach like that who can be like, oh, dude, you could do this. And he's like, oh, yeah, I could do that.
And of course, this is a team with one LeBron James on it. So it's you've got one check mark there for JJ Redick. It's you can see how he recent NBA guy, all of these guys are going to know their X's and O's. That's not even something that I think we need to talk about. But then on the other hand, it's you look at Dan Hurley. I don't know, how much UConn have you watched over the last couple of years?
I watched the women's.
There you go.
I watched way more women's UConn than
I
men's.
think Danny Hurley is great coach, runs an NBA system in college, which is a good thing. But he's also the kind of guy that on the sidelines is going kind of crazy, screaming his face off. And I think he has a very close relationship with a lot of his players. But I think in the past, that's something that we've seen to not work very well with NBA teams, of the head coach that is constantly going insane on the sidelines.
Yeah, I think it's really hard with LeBron, even if LeBron buys in, just because it's I think it's one of these crazy things, not to compare everyone, but just to harp on the legend of LeBron. It's this Mavericks game we're talking about, Luka has to play all 48, and we're it's not reasonable. But then it's all right, 8 years ago LeBron was doing that every single game while being the best defensive player on the court. So I think it's just there's this guy on your team where it's just he's just such a legend of the game. It's just, I don't know, it does put coaches in a really tough spot.
Yeah. So
And also, coaching at college is so different because, in college, usually the offenses are so much more egalitarian. Whereas with the NBA, it's going to be like, okay, this team is going to be a lot of LeBron and Austin Reeves make a ton of decisions, and everyone else kind of molds around their ball handling.
So who do you think it matters? Do you think it matters more that this head coach is aligned with LeBron or aligned with Anthony Davis?
I think LeBron.
Okay, why?
Just because he's going to be there presumably for 2 more seasons. And maybe I'm naive, but I still feel like they could get to another Western Conference Finals with the team they had. And
They have
you gotta
a lot
maximize. You got to maximize now.
Yeah, they could add a huge piece this offseason if they wanted to.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
Yeah,
Bronny,
Bronny
as they could add 2 huge pieces.
yeah. I don't know. I think also like if it goes well with LeBron, it will go well with AD.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It seems like I feel like this offseason there's been a little bit of a narrative that like either these coaches are LeBron guys or Anthony Davis guys. And I feel like every time there seems to be some sort of like media wedge between James and Davis, it's like, oh no, actually LeBron and AD are pretty much, they seem like they're always in lockstep and have a really good relationship. So I feel like there isn't really like a coach that really does sway one or the other, because I feel like those two guys are actually very in lockstep with each other.
Yeah. And to LeBron's credit, I think at least we've seen in all of his involvement with Team USA, he always responded to Coach K really, really well. He always speaks glowingly about him. And of course, it's a huge difference to play for a guy for your country opposed to for the club that you play for. But I mean, Dan Hurley should have like a little bit of cachet. Like,
Yeah.
if he wins one more, if he decides to go back to UConn and wins one more championship, it'll be the first three-peat in college basketball since John Wooden. Like, going back to back in college is a hard thing to do,
Yeah.
and he's already done that. So obviously, we're not in the rooms. It's hard to say who would be a great head coach without seeing them do it. Who would you hire with the information that you have?
Okay, as someone who doesn't watch a lot of college basketball, if I was presented with Dan Hurley and JJ Redick, I would probably pick Hurley.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably in the same
But
place.
I guess JJ, is he still up for the Charlotte job though? Because that was the first job everyone considered. They hired
Charles Lee.
Charles Lee. Okay.
I think.
I don't know. Yeah, I think, I don't know. They got memed to death for the JJ potentially hiring JJ Redick. I think JJ is going to stay in the booth. I guess I'm more curious now about like when JJ was like, "I'll address Shams later."
Yeah.
Is this about to be like I planted the fake evidence Drake song? Like, what's about?
I think it might be. It could be.
Because I know JJ. I feel like JJ hates traditional NBA media. So is this him being like, "Fuck these guys.
Yeah,
I'm gonna fuck with them"?
So for those of you that need to catch up on what we're like conspiring about, basically, like obviously Shams works for a different company than JJ Redick and Woj do. So it could have been.
Oh, you think this is like a pro Woj thing?
It could have been a little pro Woj, like they work together all the time, going to like not deny the Lakers' interest in JJ Redick just to see how far Shams pushes it down the pipeline before the Lakers come off the top rope and hire Dan Hurley. Tinfoil hat on.
What does this mean for Jayson Tatum's legacy?
Well, if Charles Lee was hired to be the Charlotte Hornets head coach, for Jayson Tatum's legacy,
If Jayson Tatum wins 7 championships, but none of them are against the Lakers, can he be the greatest Celtic?
yes.
Cool. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that one.
All right, now that we've figured that out.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough gamble, and I think this is like an all-time low on talent of a head coaching crop. So if the Lakers are able to pull a Danny Hurley out of their ass in this group of coaches that they could have hired, I think it's like a home run, but it could also be terrible. It could really not work out at all. But you can say that about any head coaching hire, right?
All I know is that if I was like an assistant coach that had been grinding in the system for like 20 years and I see that the Lakers are considering JJ Redick or a college coach, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I'd be so upset.
Yeah, I will say like the process of either one of these hires is something that doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like Jeannie Buss looking at the situation and be like, how do we get our Brad Stevens? How do we get our Steve Kerr? Oh, we hire the ESPN like commentator. Oh, we hire the guy that just won the national championship. It's like generally copying the other team's like road to success doesn't usually end up working.
It seems like a cheat code, kind of like it's not really going to work out.
But it might.
I just feel like the Lakers need stability, and it's really weird coming off the heels of this Sun season because obviously it did not work out in Phoenix, but I felt like they had a really good thing with LeBron, AD, and Vogel, and that Westbrook trade really fucked up what could have been a monochrome of consistency for this team.
I so agree. I mean, Vogel and Anthony Davis could
and LeBron
match made in heaven.
Yeah, it felt like they had, and it was really weird they chose Westbrook over Vogel to me. Yeah. I mean, I guess they were stuck because they tried to trade Westbrook, but they really couldn't.
I think it was more just a need for a scapegoat at the time.
Yeah, because I remember when they brought Darvin Ham in, the whole thing was like he's going to fix the Westbrook situation, but I feel like people don't remember how horrible Westbrook was on the Lakers. Like, this guy was missing the backboard on fadeaway jump shots. He was legitimately the worst player in the NBA. I remember his field goal percentage on open shots was the worst in the whole league.
Yeah. No, he was
people
awful.
don't remember how awful he was when he played for the Lakers.
But I also think a sin that a coach can commit that, in my opinion, is an instant firing thing is when your team no longer respects you.
Yeah,
that's why
true.
Frank Vogel got fired from the Suns job is because the team just
straight
up did not respect him. And I think it was honestly the same thing in the Lakers. Like, they did respect him throughout that 2020 finals run, but when the toothpaste is out of the tube like that, there's no way to get it back in.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, should we get to Hot Streak Shooting Slump?
Let's do it. So of course, Hot Streak Shooting Slump, where we review our weeks.
Who are we starting with?
Max?
I'm on a hot streak, guys.
Let's go.
There we go.
Yeah, I've been sleeping good, been working out, been getting a lot of work done. Honestly, just a great week all around. Got a fun weekend planned. My girlfriend works at an art gallery. They're having an opening this weekend. So
wow.
I get to dress up fancy and go be like an art boyfriend. That'll be fun.
That's awesome. I love that for you.
Drink some wine and look at some art and just pretend to understand what it is.
Yes, my girlfriend pays this selection.
You got your monocle in.
Yeah. Just full Monopoly mode. Monopoly guy. And then, Sunday, going to watch the game. Probably going to go to Ye Rustic Inn, which is like a great sports
Great
bar.
spot. Great wings.
Best wings
Top
in
5
LA.
wings on Yelp. Yep, I've been there.
Yeah.
They're very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So going to go there. Unfortunately, the wings, they have raised the prices of the wings post-COVID to a outrageous.
Who can afford wings in this economy?
The only thing I'll say about that place, because I was doing I did a video trying the top 5 wings places in LA, so we had to go there. Weird vibes, though. When I walked in, they were like, who's this guy?
They're mean.
They were not nice.
They're not friendly.
No.
It is like on your bingo card, you need to have I will be disrespected by somebody on the wait staff.
Yeah, I feel like if they're like, you're not from Echo Park or Silver Lake, so why don't you go fuck yourself?
Kind of.
That's kind of the vibe you get when you walk in there.
Max has "I'm from Echo Park" or Silver Lake written over
you have
his
it all
face.
over you, but I don't, and they did not like that.
That feels derogatory, but I'll take it.
It means you're cooler than us.
Hey, there's a lot of great people.
Every time I'm in Silver Lake, Sunset Boulevard, I'm like, man, this place is so cool. Why don't I live here?
Silver Lake is cool.
Silver Lake is cool.
There's nowhere to park.
There is nowhere to park.
Nowhere to park.
There's one parking lot, and the machine where you type in what parking space you have doesn't work. So that's always great, because then you're like, oh, am I gonna get a fucking ticket? Am I not? Do they know that it doesn't work?
Hey,
but you
that's
don't
when
know.
you just gotta snap a picture of the machine, and if you get a ticket, you gotta contest that shit.
Smart. Mm-hmm. All right, I have a question for you guys. I'm terrified. So when I used to live in West Hollywood, I never got a parking permit because I had a parking garage, but What happened? Somehow 2 times I forgot my garage opener or something. For some reason I couldn't get into my building's parking garage. So I parked on the street, and I have 2 parking tickets from a year and a half, 2 years ago from West Hollywood. Do those go up in price?
Yes,
Yes.
they do.
Oh,
you get
God.
fined, I think, monthly.
Yeah.
Oh shit! How much are they going to go up?
I can't tell you.
I don't want to say something that's like so wrong that scares you, but
Well, dude, so here's the problem. I lost one of the tickets.
oh well, I think
That's
not
fine.
an
You
issue.
can just look up
My
on-
license plate number?
Yeah, I think your license plate number on the website.
got
Should I look it up right now?
Yeah, you
All right,
can.
so
take a
I think
I'll-
the tickets were both $39.
Those are some cheap tickets. I just got a $60 ticket last week in like Santa Monica area. That was completely my fault.
This
I'm
is-
usually pretty good about reading this.
We're gonna find out what my if I have a hot streak or not. When I find out
Was
this.
that the start of a hot streak or a shooting slump for you? Like,
No, it wasn't. Yeah, I'll go into mine while James is looking this information up. I have had a hot streak.
Let's go.
I just like love finals week. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. So yesterday was really fun. Got together with James and a couple other people to watch the game. That was a good time. And then just like weather's been pretty good in LA. Can't complain. I just can't complain. It's been a good week. What did I do last weekend? I think I was just a homebody.
nice.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm to the point where I'm just like have to hang up all of my art in my house.
Okay.
And it's really it's making me like the space even more, and a space
Yeah.
that I was already in love with. Do we have the numbers?
It's not that bad.
Oh really?
Okay.
All right, 133 for each.
Oh
Wow, that's
Okay.
These are
not
both-
as much as I would have expected.
Yeah.
These were issued on April 2023 and June of 2023, so they're both
okay.
over a year old.
okay.
There we go.
I guess that's the max, maybe.
Maybe
Maybe
that would be very nice if there was a max.
a maximum.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I kept one of them in my car, and through time, the ink has completely melted and warped all over the paper to the point where I can't even read the citation number anymore. And I was like, before I move back to West Hollywood, I should probably pay off my parking tickets.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to escalate if I just keep getting more and more.
Yeah.
If you
otherwise-
get more and more, you get towed away.
yeah,
Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
that's true.
Do you know what's crazy? I was like, I could probably fight these tickets and win because I'm like, I live in the building. I am eligible for a parking permit. I just couldn't get in my building for whatever reason. I think one day, literally, the parking garage just wasn't working.
Yeah.
Either way, I am on a shooting slump regardless of the good news. So I feel like over the last few months, I've had a couple weeks where I'm like, I'm low-key in a slump, but because my attitude's been good, I'm on a hot streak. It's been the opposite. I feel like I'm having a hot streak week, but like a shooting slump outlook.
Shooting slump vibes.
Yeah, just shooting
what
slump
contributes
vibes.
to these vibes?
Okay.
Celtics winning.
I mean, yeah, the Celtics winning in that fashion just, I mean,
Hurts.
yeah, as a Heat LeBron guy, like, I don't know. It's a bummer.
I was the only person at the watch party yesterday cheering for the Celtics.
I was cheering for
I
this.
stayed quiet.
Well, that's why you weren't invited. No, all right. So Monday night, I stayed over at a friend's. I had to leave early.
Sleepover.
Little sleepover. I drive back at like 6 a.m. from downtown. Dude, Tuesday just wasn't a day for me. I was just so tired. I didn't do anything.
Hey, I love.
No, I didn't. No, I
Sounds
don't
nice.
like
I'm
that.
jealous.
I'm one of those people who's mad. Like, I sat there. I'm like, rest up. Didn't do anything. I lost a day. I hate losing a day, and I was hungover on Sunday, so I lost 2 days in a 3-day span.
Hey, you can work on the weekend if you want to, my man. You're your own boss.
I know. Well, I am going to work this weekend because I lost 2 days. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like losing a day to doing nothing.
Yeah,
I hate
I
that.
understand that.
And then, guys, I am bad at landscaping. My backyard, I know I'm trying to sell this house, but this is also part of trying to sell the house. I don't know how to keep the grass alive.
Is your dog peeing on it a lot?
Oh, well, I found out rabbits are bad for it, but Patrick recommended me a landscaper. Finally met with him yesterday.
My guy Juan.
Juan, he was helping me out. He's giving me advice. He's going to start next Friday, but that's a long time. Trusting me to keep the flowers alive for a whole week.
Did you try
don't know.
Googling like how much to water flowers?
I mean, dude, the problem is, like, I heard you're not supposed to water things when the sun is touching them because I guess that can kill them because the evaporation effect can actually hurt plants. So you want to water them.
All I've ever known is sunlight, water, love.
Well,
that's what you need.
Yeah.
Well,
How much love are you using?
so what I've heard, I'm using bad water. No, so what I've heard, maybe the people that do it's on the wrong. They told me you want to water before the sun comes out, like get the water in the soil. The plant absorbs because the plants absorb from the roots, so you want the water to get in there. But if you water them when it's really hot out, the water can start evaporating right away, which I guess can hurt the plant. So I keep putting on my planner like water flowers, water. But then I get outside and it's overcast right now.
It is. Yeah. It's a little dewy this morning.
I could be a good plant dad today.
Yeah.
But Juan told me, don't worry about it. But I'm freaking out. I have a whole week without him.
A sprinkler system?
I do, but yesterday I found out the timer doesn't work. So we're getting a new one.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
That's how they get you. But yeah, just kind of a glummy week.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe next week you're going to have like perked up flowers.
Yeah.
A Tide series. So we are going to be recording.
Yeah, when is game 2?
After
This is great
Sunday.
podcast. It's Sunday. Okay,
Game's
so
on
Monday
Sunday.
morning?
So our next episode will come out Monday morning, but you can probably expect a couple episodes next week because we're going to try to record after every single game.
Yeah,
That's
so
the plan.
game 3 is Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's every 2 games. So Wednesday.
When's game 4?
Friday.
What do we think?
I can verify this.
Friday or Saturday.
It would make sense to just do a Thursday up then, right?
Yeah, so it'll probably be
Monday, Thursday.
if that's the schedule. I don't know. Keep an eye out.
Well,
We're
doesn't
gonna
it go
be
all the way to the 23rd? I feel like there can't be only one day in between any of the games. This final series stretches a lot.
Game 3 is Wednesday, and Game 4 is Friday.
okay. So
Yeah,
Wednesday,
wait, okay.
Friday. So we might. So
Saturday.
probably normal week and then an
Maybe.
extra episode.
Yeah.
On Saturday, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know on the next episode. Thank you guys for listening to the Foul Trouble podcast. Give us a like, 5 stars, all that. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.